Welcome, everybody, to Broadcast Team Alpha, where we bring you cutting edge conversation while exploring the quantum possibilities. I'm Nori Love. I am here with my co host, Aage Nost, and a fascinating and captivating guest that Augie's going to tell us about in a minute. I just want to do a shout out to our friends over at the Conscious Awakening Network. We kind of co create with them. Actually, we're streaming over there right now, and on 40 other platforms, but they are just pushing. I was going to say the limits, but there are no limits. They are just pushing out into the vastness of the universe with their creativity and their offerings. So I highly recommend you go take a peek at what's going on over there. And I'd also like to invite you to join us for the Mastermind Connection on Sunday. We get together, and the intention is to manifest whatever it is that comes up that day. Sometimes it's for the world. It could be for the creatures in the sea. It could be for peace. It could be for all of those things, healing. We come together. We have a beautiful imagery and meditation, and together we await knowingly that the manifestation of that is already taken place. If you'd like to join us, just send an email to themastermindconnection@gmail.com. And if you haven't already liked and subscribed because of the algorithms, we would love for you to do that and maybe tell your friend or your family about us. So without any further ado, Augie, please tell us about our guest.
Yes, this is going to be fun, both good and fun because we have a wizard with us. And actually, it is Dr. Glen Swartwout. And he is referred to on the internet and everywhere the Wizard of Wellness. And that opens up the doors to the back of the mind where we can find absolutely solutions to everything. And he's got a website that I think you should go visit. I'll mention that up front because some people like to surf the website while they're listening, and here it is. It's remedymatch.com. That is one of the 80 websites he has. Wow. And man, oh man. Yeah, I almost lose myself when I think about that. Anyway, he is an award-winning naturopathic optometrist. For 40 years, he has helped people reverse blindness and just about any other health challenge that they may have. And, and most of them are thought of as irreversible.
Mhm.
And he worked in alternative medicine. He also co-wrote a book. I think the title is Natural Eye Care
Mhm.
and Encyclopedia. And you find his books at Remedies and Healing Tools. You find that at remedymatch.com. And yeah, I guess the title is Remedies and Healing Tools at, you can find it there. And he uh, he also has a another website that I want to mention for those of you out there that glasses like me and other eye care challenges. Regeneratevision.com. So think about that. And I would say absolutely for those of you out there watching and listening, listen and understand what he's talking about because everything works so much better if we understand the principles behind the healing because he works on the system of us, the body, mind, and spirit system we are. And gosh, with any there we go. Welcome to the show, Glenn.
Welcome,
Thank you,
Glenn.
Aage and Nori. Yeah,
So
yeah.
great to have you.
And it's been, for 42 years, I've been working as a healer. First under licensing and all the rules and regulations of where we believe we're taught to believe that in the room as a doctor and the patient, there's these other entities, these spiritual entities, really, because we create them out of our mind, and they're fiction entities, but that's real. Those are like demons. There's the state, there's the federal regulatory agencies, there, the state licensing board, the insurance company, and so many of the interactions and decisions that constrain the flow of healing between those two living beings, sentient spirit beings having a human experience, are controlled and guided by this unreal world that we've laid over the real world. So now I'm free of that. I retired from being a doctor for the state like 20 years ago, and so and even before that, I freed myself from the world of commerce. Money. What is money? Oh, we trade our irreplaceable time for irredeemable money. Why do we do that?
Mhm.
Oh, we have to work within the constraints of some of those systems. We have to recognize it's true, or they'll lock us up in a box for own safety. But so, I'm careful not to practice medicine, which would mean I'm treating a disease. Well, what is treating a disease? Is that something that's real, or is that a fiction, a legal fiction that we've made up? I think it's a legal fiction because treating a disease is not healing the disease. We certainly see that when you ask your doctor, well, how long will it take this drug you're recommending for my disease, that thing that I have now, which is going to create not healing, but a nocebo effect,
Yeah.
create more
Yeah.
disease by my thought that I have this thing that's a disease and that's not treatable and can't be reversed. And how long is it going to take for that drug to heal my high blood pressure or my high cholesterol? Oh, no, no, get used to taking it. You'll be taking this the rest of your life. So it's not healing. And yet we can heal almost anything. I believe probably we can heal anything, but how do we know unless we actually try to heal? But how can we heal? Our body heals itself. I can't heal you. Yes, I can project my thoughts, and that can have an effect of helping to heal another person, but it's not healing them directly. It's them healing themselves, and I'm
Yeah.
giving them a natural resource, whether it's in the mind, ideas, thoughts, energies, from the spirit to another spirit, which takes place across space and time without any constraints, or whether it's quantum energies from sunlight or color therapy, or uh,
Mm.
the quantum energies that are carried by plants that we eat or herbs that we take as medicine. That's actually how we recognize a compound, say a phytonutrient from a plant in the laboratory, is by its fingerprint of resonance with different quantum energy levels, which each one is a frequency. There's
I, I think we all have heard the saying that thoughts are things.
Mhm.
And the quantum mechanics tells us we live in a mind-created universe. So that all depends on what we have in our mind strongly enough can create an effect outside of the mind in the body or wherever. Look at Joe Dispenza. Uh, Everybody knows him. He broke his back. It was just fragments in there of the bones that used to be his spine. And in a matter of a few months, he, by thought and visual images, he had created a regrow the spine and the spinal cord. That is the kind of healing that you're talking about, because this is very possible. So guys, listen really close to what he's talking here, because there's substance in it.
Yeah, to me, it's a synthesis of body, mind, and spirit. And they're not
Yeah.
separate in life. We're having an in-body experience, I like to call it. And I've had out-of-body near-death experiences. So I certainly I'm fascinated by the fact that our consciousness and our spirit has an immortal life that's not dependent on the body, but healing and life in the body is dependent on the spirit.
Yeah.
And we know that in studying chemical medicine, that you can't even study, you can't even know what a compound, a chemistry compound will do without taking the mind out of the equation by doing placebo-controlled trials, double-blind trials. The doctor can't
Yeah.
know because the doctor's mind will affect the healing, and the patient can't know because their mind will affect the healing. The placebo effect is not a non-effect. it's an effect that's equally as powerful as the material aspects of the body and chemistry and physics of healing.
Yeah.
So if we want to maximize our healing, we have to, I believe, account for both of those, that what our body is deficient in is not synthetic patented drugs that never existed for our ancestors. It's compounds and energies and energy forms from thought forms from nature. Uh, we're nature deficient. And so actually every toxin produces an additional deficiency in the body of those nutrients and phytonutrients and elements of nature that our body requires in order to detoxify it. A trauma requires additional nutrients in order to heal that. So we're either deficient in nature because our food is grown on soil that's depleted in minerals because we don't put manure, we don't do organic regenerative agriculture. We put NPK fertilizer and there's no magnesium in that. So it's depleted in that system. Or we've taken the plants that we used to eat that were heirloom varieties that had about 10 times, more than 10 times the phytonutrients in that the hybrids that we have now have, or even the GMO plants that have added some things that didn't belong there. So it's a nature deficiency, I believe, is the fundamental cause of disease.
Yeah.
And even of aging. Like aging-related blinding eye diseases, we're taught to think that, oh, it's aging related. That begs the question, what is the cause? Age is time. Time is not a cause any more than space is a cause. Space-time doesn't cause disease. But a lack of nature, a lack of the variety that is present in a natural environment. Look at the way we live. We're isolated from the energy fields of nature.
Yeah.
How much time are we outdoors looking in the sun rising over the horizon when the best light that stimulates all of our hormonal systems through the eyes, our immune system through the eyes, our skin, we get vitamin D. We are not exposed to the Schumann field, which is an electromagnetic field that's in the same frequency range as our brain waves. So it puts our brain in a balanced state. When they started sending people up in space capsules, they found that they'd have nausea and vomiting. And to stop that, they had to recreate this Schumann field that's available to every one of us if we just go out in a natural area with maybe sandals on that aren't rubber soled. That rubber sole isolates us electrically from the earth.
Yeah.
And the earth is, I call it, our largest antioxidant and supplies the smallest antioxidant, which is electrons. The earth has a negative electrical charge, which means it's supplying electrons to the body. That's energy, and that's antioxidant power that prevents oxidation. That's the main cause of aging and damage and disease. So
Yeah.
nature, get yourself into a natural environment. The infrared light in a green environment, the green of the trees and the grass is all reflecting infrared light. If you take a picture of it in infrared, you'll see it's all looks white, like a spiritual cathedral of nature. And in our indoor environments, we used to have some infrared because we had fireplaces. We had some infrared because incandescent lights, the old kind of light bulbs that get hot, that's putting off infrared. But if you take an infrared photo of our indoor environments today, it's black. We're in darkness, and it's a light that we don't see, but our cells see it. Our mitochondria, when they receive infrared, it activates their energy. It uh, it activates the water in our body, in the not just the skin, but in deeper tissues. Infrared turns water into what I call living water, and Jesus called it living water too.
Yeah. And guess what? I got a light bulb that
Yeah,
I put it in ever so often and sit in front of it.
yeah.
That infrared light is wonderful. I tell you, everybody should have one of those. But I can hear from what you're talking about is that you're helping people with some other things too, because there is one deficiency that we are absolutely everybody are deficient of, and that is spiritual understanding of the capabilities of the mind.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I
The
think you help people with that.
one of the most fascinating things that I've come across, and my mind has been opened by my own healing 30 years ago, more than 30 years ago. When I was going to go blind, I found out when I was finishing up optometry school, and the professor recommended that I just dive into the research to find out why. Why do people go blind? It's not because they have a diagnosis. That's an effect. We need to look at the cause and remove the cause in order to prevent the disease or to heal and reverse disease. So, one of the things that I've learned is how I believe the spirit and the body are linked. You know, since Descartes, in his mind, separated the two worlds of thought forms and spirit, that's, you know, non-physical, and the physical world, that Cartesian divide, it's called in philosophy. We need to heal that divide because it's obvious that they work together. It's the spirit, the consciousness, and the subconscious aspect of the spirit that runs the show in the body, that heals the body. I learned how to measure the energy flow in the meridians, a German technique that comes out of Oriental medicine. Uh, and what we see is that those energy flows change in an instant with a thought form or with the presence of an energy or substance like an herb, a nutrient. As soon as it comes within the body field, not even touching the body, but even through a vacuum, a centimeter of vacuum, there's this radiant energy, and there's this non-local energy of thought that doesn't decrease with distance. Uh, and those are slightly different. But then how does that all work? How does that all work? If we look at modern alchemy, we find a very, very interesting clue. The modern alchemists, and we can actually understand what modern alchemists are talking about because they're speaking the language of chemistry, and their work has been patented. Uh, and they talk about M-state minerals or ormus, people are familiar terms, or white powder gold. This is a substance that's in the body. We know that. A study on brain tissue found 5% of the dry weight was M-state iridium and rhodium. These are two of the three. Gold is the third major uh, ormus or M-state. I call them spirit minerals because that's my conclusion is, oh, well, this is the actual material form of this immortal body that are they're non-ordinary matter. They're not like the minerals that we can easily identify, say in a chemistry lab. If we take the body and we put it through a chemistry lab, there'll be this dust, this powder, this white powder, this ash left over that doesn't burn. And in a chemistry lab, normally they don't even write down how much that was. Oh, that's an unknown. We're not interested in the unknown because we don't know what it is. Well, we should be the most interested in the unknown, right?
Yeah.
And what they found is that in the patent, you can read the British patent. Uh, they found that 4/9 of the mass of this gold and rhodium and iridium is actually non-local. It means it's transdimensional. It's present across space and time. It can go anywhere and any time without any resistance. And within the field of this, the ghost in the machine, the spirit in the body, or who we really are, who we will always be, uh, that the energy flow within the spirit is what they call phonons. It's like sound waves. It's moving at the speed of sound, whether it's the light that we see when we see a star in the sky. How do we see? As a vision scientist, it's a big question that's never answered in the conventional science. The biologists, the neuroscientists will say, oh, the sky is inside the skull. No, it's not. We know as vision scientists, we see it where it is, or there's people who see it a little closer, a little further than it really is. You know, a boy who's trying to hit a baseball, if he's ESO, if his body is more acidic and his muscles are more tight and his eyes tend to turn inward a little bit, he he sees that ball closer than it is, and he swings too early and he misses. And just the opposite with when the energy is too low, energy is blocked and the muscles move outward. Like when we died, muscles move outward. That's the rest position of the eyes. They're pointed outward. So it's a certain amount of energy we need for balance. When we have too much energy, it's toxicity. When we have too little energy, it's degeneration. And that's what we would measure through the acupuncture points on the meridians. And again, see what, not only what is out of balance in what direction, but also what it is from nature specifically that will bring it into harmony, like an acupuncture treatment in an instant. And that will hold for a while, for a day or so. If it's a remedy, an herbal combination. If we look at, say, how the body reacts to Chinese herbal medicine combinations, traditional herbal formulas that are recommended when an acupuncturist feels the pulses and looks at the tongue, and they use their senses to understand the energy pattern of the whole body, not just one thing, one disease, but the whole person. And then they say, well, that matches this particular remedy combination of herbs. 85% of the time, that combination that matches according to those traditional herbal medicine approaches will actually balance the energy as we measure it. And it's just the opposite in modern medicine. Most drugs, 85% of drugs or more, will actually create more stress in the body. But we get sold on them because I just heard a person who used to work for Pfizer talking on video and saying how they work. And we know this. They're told in the company, don't say anything about any of the negative effects of the drug. Only pick out the little pieces, the 2 or 3 little points where it looks like there's an improvement, like with reducing blood pressure with antihypertensive drugs. The doctors, there was a study in England, all the doctors agreed that the person was healthier because the blood pressure was lower, because they're looking with
Yeah.
blinders on at that one number, as if a level of pressure is a disease. Same in glaucoma with eye pressure. But they asked the patients in this study, do they feel healthier? And they all said, no, I don't have as much energy. My mind's not as clear. I'm not functioning as well. And they asked the patient's family and the pastor in the community. Everyone agreed except for the doctors. So we have to have a measure of what is wellness, not just I'm well because I don't have a diagnosis. If we're really truly well, we can do miracles. Well, life is a
Yeah.
miracle. Healing is a miracle. We can heal each other with our intention, with our minds. Uh, I did a calculation that came to me. I realized from the alchemy, knowing that 4/9 of the mass of our spirit body is universal and beyond, whatever's beyond this universe. And knowing that there's a certain amount of mass, uh, mass and energy are equivalent. Einstein gave us the equation E equals mc squared. So we can calculate how much energy, the equivalent amount of energy for a mind to grasp it, is in our spirit, is available in our consciousness, compared to the amount of energy that was changed from mass to energy in the Hiroshima atom bomb. And each one of us has the equivalent of 6 of those bombs, the energy that was released. Imagine that amount of energy, but that's destructive energy. That's ability. Only destructive energy is very, very limited. It's limited by the power to destroy something that's created. So it's temporal. It happens right now and it's done, it's over. It can't destroy any more than was already created. It has no power of itself. But the energy of life and consciousness and love and healing is infinite, because if we heal something, we're healing it for all future time. So
Yeah. Speaking of
use
that
that.
future time, I read something in your stuff that you said core healing is a form of time travel. Could you
Yes.
explain that a little bit? I lose myself in it.
Yeah. Well, let's go back almost 300 years ago when Hahnemann discovered the principle of homeopathy, which is still actually one of the leading forms of medicine in the world. Many people, millions and millions of people are treated with homeopathy effectively, even though we've been taught in our culture that, oh, it can't do anything because there's nothing there. And that's like saying the spirit can't do anything because there's nothing there. Our mind, our thoughts can't do anything because there's nothing there. No, and low potency homeopathics actually have material substance as well. But it's communication. So what they observed in homeopathy over the last 250 plus years is what they call retracing. When we begin to heal, first of all, the body comes from the past. Our mind is present, centered in the present, and the spirit comes from the future. In ancient Egyptian philosophy, they talk about that. They understood that. That's where the bulk of our self is in the future, and it's transdimensional by nature. So it's here now. The spirit is here now. It was there in the past. It's there in the future. But there's more of us now spiritually than there was when we were conceived or born or 2 years old. Or we're growing. We're developing. So the bulk of our spirit is from the future. So I talk about our future self. Your future self is the part that knows what herb will heal you, because that's information from the future. So trust intuition, your inner guidance, however that can come to you. There's many different ways, from muscle testing to dowsing to just sentience, clairsentience in many forms. But time travel is what happens when we're able to, first of all, take care of our healing needs of what's happening right now, the stresses in our environment, in our gut, in our life. If we're handling that to a great degree, our sentience, our spirit, will identify, I guess, what they'd call uh, the Akashic records in Ayurvedic medicine, this archaeological accumulation of stresses that our body carries from the past, even from past generations of a parent or grandparent that had a huge stress, whether a toxic exposure or psychological stress, impacts our epigenetics, which genes are turned on and which are turned off. And that's inheritable to the next generation. But we can heal it. We can even heal past and future generations by healing it in our own body, because, again, our bodies are communicating through spirit across space and time. So as we begin to heal the past, we heal the recent past first, and then progress to more deeper and older stresses, just like if it was an archaeological dig. We're digging down into older, deeper layers. We'll see it in dreams, we'll see it in feelings and emotions, and even symptoms that come out, that recur from an earlier time. And usually they clear very quickly. Just like when a person's ready to heal cancer, spontaneous remission of cancer, thousands of cases documented, will happen often in a few days. Even if it's metastatic, your body can heal everything. And disease is an effect, not the cause. The primary cause is the spirit, is the consciousness and the spirit, the consciousness and the subconscious. In Chinese medicine, they called it Hun and Po, the animal spirit, spirit of the body, that like what's in your bones when you leave, your conscious spirit, the Hun, is ascended, but there's still an animal spirit that's there in the anchored in the bones. And so that animal spirit of the body is healing the body, but it also takes direction from the Hun, the sentient, immortal spirit of the mind.
And you were talking before about age-related changes, and as a former nurse, we were kind of front-loaded into believing that they existed. Like, here's a 78-year-old person with X expected age-related changes. So many of the people who want healing, who want to believe in their heart of hearts that the body can heal itself, we've got this fear, that's kind of been laced into us, maybe even through our ancestry. So does that need to be addressed first before we start our archaeological dig?
I think it's not necessarily first, but maybe at the same time. It's not like, oh, we can't start healing because the body doesn't lie. When we can communicate with the body, which we can do even with voice, a 10-second voice sample now through a cell phone or computer, we can get an immediate 14-page interactive analysis that tells us, oh, which meridians are trying to heal using a lot of energy. And there's medicine for that. That's information medicine drops you can put in water, and everybody can drink water. Uh, I think, reframing our understanding that our body is intelligent. It knows what it needs to heal. We need to learn to listen to that, learn to work with it, not try to change it from the outside. It's this complex interactive system that's self-healing and self-regulating. You don't heal it by, trying to push it in some direction. You tell it where it needs to go. You give it, the fare for the ride, the material, the energy to pay for it. You give it the fuel for the gas tank. You give it the things that it needs to make that journey, and you ask it what it needs, and learn how to. That's the big thing, is learning how to translate between the body's language, which is the simple language of energy. Matter is just energy. Thoughts are energy, but in a non-local form. So they're hard to it's hard to measure non-local things with localized equipment in science. So that's why there's these two worlds, it seems, but they speak to each other through energy. And yeah, that's I've seen so many things healed that the textbooks say, oh, it's irreversible. Blindness, various causes. It's not to say that everyone heals everything, but the people who do heal things that are not supposed to heal are,
Yeah.
first of all, they are people who open their mind, who have, usually when I meet them, they say, I know I can heal this. Well, of course,
Yeah.
their future self knows that that's going to happen. So getting over the fear. I love the saying that courage, fear is what courage feels like. They have the courage to heal. Healing is not easy. You can, like the people who have spontaneous remission of cancer in 3 days, they have a high fever, like 103, 104, 105 fever for 3 days. I've had 105 fever for a month,
Wow.
and not suppressed it with any drug, and just gave my body what it needed and got through it and came out of it with my body and my mind and my spirit working better than it had in decades. This is called a healing crisis or a cleansing reaction. If you read old literature, 100, 200 years ago, people talk about it because it's real. Something that everyone observed. Um,
Yeah.
we need to get back to that understanding that we can heal and that it's not always easy, but we can facilitate it, we can support it, and understand that when a symptom comes out of healing, you don't want to push it back in. It's something coming out that doesn't belong in the body, and it doesn't necessarily feel good on the way out, but it's
Yeah.
getting out once and for all. Studies on aspirin for headache show that if you have a headache and you take an aspirin, you will get more headaches in the future because your body's trying to dissolve, your immune system's trying to dissolve something that doesn't belong in the head area, and it has to create inflammation to do that. Now, we've all heard probably a lot in modern times about the problem with chronic inflammation. That's because we suppress inflammation with steroids and with non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, and that's causing a lot of the disease, the chronic disease that we have. So, but yet there's so many herbs in nature that are immune modulators. They help the immune system get the job done with less inflammation, less damage, whether it's allergy related or autoimmune related. It gets that job done, and it makes the immune system more effective against infection. So it just makes it more efficient and balanced. So there's always two ways to treat a symptom. You can try to run away from it and stop it, which is the spirit running away from life stresses. If you run away from that problem with your family or business partner or people down the street, when you run away from it and don't face the truth of what is and resolve it, then it's not healed and it's still there. And if we resist it by trying to push it away, what we resist persists. So we keep
Yeah.
these diseases chronic, which is great for drug sales. great for the economy because we spend more money on drugs.
Yeah,
It's not good for
absolutely.
people. It's like war. It's good for the economy, not good for people. People lose wars on both sides.
Yeah, they do. They absolutely do. For those of you that joined us late, we are talking with the Wizard of Wellness, Dr. Glen Swartwout, and we're talking about the mind can heal absolutely anything. Now, he said almost anything. I think I want to correct him. Absolutely everything, because
Yeah, I believe that. The reason I
yeah,
say almost is from my own experience. I've seen it heal almost anything. But the caveat is that doesn't mean, I'm all powerful. I can heal anything in myself or in another person.
yeah,
But the limitations are only, what do I have access to? What am I aware of in nature? The more I study natural medicine, I have more tools. And also, as I improve my own abilities spiritually for healing,
yeah,
to heal myself and others, it gets better. And as we join together, like in your mastermind group, healing people as a group, that's very, very powerful.
yeah. Yeah, and we're doing it. And I would say also, when you say healing absolutely everything, think about, I mentioned Joe Dispenza. Now that regrowing the structure of the spine in just a couple of months, that he was told he would never walk again. But he said, watch me. And he went home and he visualized and he intended for I think it was a couple of months. There was just all there was, and he was up walking again. And there are other. In fact, I'm going to take 45 seconds and mention some. Somewhere on my computer, I have the pictures of a man that he got his in an accident. He cut off a finger, and he regrew the finger. That's not supposed to happen, but
Right.
it does.
Yeah.
I've heard people also, actually one, that he lost all his teeth and he regrew a third set of teeth.
Wow.
These things happen. And that's why I want people to listen really close to what Glenn is talking about here, because this is very possible. All we have to do is understand it and believe it in our mind strong enough, and things happen. All right, I'm talking enough.
Yeah, we're learning from, I've learned things just fairly recently, what they're learning in like developmental biology, how the body grows from one cell to many, and how do eyes develop? Well, they found that it's the area where there's the highest electrical field, electrical charge on those cells become eyes.
Yeah,
And so it's the electricity, the energy of the cells that and the energy field that determines how those cells develop. If a cell, what I call a blind cell, is a cancer cell, a cell that can't see the rest of the body because its energy is too low and there's too much junk, debris, toxins in
yeah,
the way, it can't see where it is in the body, so it can't differentiate into that normal tissue. Once you get the energy and the clarity back, it can see where it is and it can become a normal cell again.
yeah,
If we look at Kirlian photography is fascinating. You take a leaf and it has this energy field around it, or a fingertip has an energy field around it where the electrons, the high frequency electrons will flow according to the energy of that spirit body that extends beyond the material body. If you cut that leaf in half and take away half of it and take a Kirlian photo, you see the whole leaf. The field is
yep,
still there. You've removed the material body, but the spirit body is can't be cut. You can't cut it. It's spirit in nature. It can flow into and out of normal matter without displacing it. It's this non-ordinary matter. For physicists and scientists who want to grasp this, look at the 2001 Nobel Prize in Physics for Bose-Einstein condensates. This is a non-ordinary matter that's well understood and documented in conventional science and exists at very, very low temperature. So the spirit minerals that are in the body it's in a body that's at a high temperature. So they're thinking, they're in the PhD training world is, well, that can't happen in the body. It's too warm and wet. But these are documented minerals that are in the body that have this non-ordinary function similar to the Bose-Einstein condensate. So I think of them as a type of condensate, the spirit minerals or ormus. And uh, they're not thermally coupled with the body. They don't take on the temperature of the body. The spirit it's a different kind of matter, but it's matter nevertheless. It's a real thing. It's like the whole
Yeah.
idea that, oh, spirit and spirituality and our beliefs and thoughts, and that's just an epiphenomena of the electricity in the brain or the chemistry of the brain.
Yeah.
No, 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 no. The universe that we see is an epiphenomenon of the thought forms of spirit of our source, which is all one source. We're all cells in God's body, if we want to think of it that way. And the more we
Yeah.
act
And
like cells in God's body, in a healthy body, those cells help and support each other, even though they have different organs and tissues, different roles and functions, they all work together. But so much of our modern culture has become spiritually blind, like those cancer cells don't know that they're in this one living body, living, sentient, holographic, fractal universe.
yeah, we better stop watching TV so we don't get hypnotized every night. But in your work, you also work with herbal medicine. I saw on a previous time, I saw you have a pharmacy of herbal medicine. There was a whole wall behind you. How do
Yep.
you integrate the herbal medicine for, let's say, if somebody have a cold, there's a sore toe or anything? How do you work herbal medicine in with what you're doing?
So I'm a collector. I collect herbs from all around the world. That's what I've done since I learned how to test people and see what their body resonates with. Because one person will resonate with one herb, echinacea for their cold, another one maybe with some functional mushrooms that are help the immune system. Uh, and so I put together formulas or use other formulas. Actually, in indigenous medicine, like traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, uh, other indigenous systems of medicine around the world, most of the medicine is herbal combinations where they say, oh, these things work really well together. Trikatu in Ayurveda for the gut. And so um, the idea of single herbs works, but it's primarily what we see in the Western culture of commerce. We're going to sell you this herb. Oh, I read about this herb. That makes sense. I need that herb. And so your body hopefully will resonate with that herb, but not necessarily. There might be another herb for that same function, like a cold, that will work better for one person, where another one works for this person. And so I collect the nutrients and the herbal ingredients, herbal phytonutrients from plants, or the whole herb concentrated as we can get, to put as much medicine in one capsule. We're not really designed to, we don't really like taking capsules. That makes sense. It's, but but a lot of the herbs don't necessarily taste good, and it's a convenient way to make a medicine that's non-toxic, that works, that stimulates healing, supports healing. So I'll put a couple dozen different herbs and nutrients, say for colds and flu. Uh, our number one remedy is called shields up, like putting up our shields against viruses. Uh, but then we also want to, so you can go to remedymatch.com, look up flu, and it'll show shields up, or look up, cold, it'll show up as shields up will be one of the remedies on that page. And then you can look at the dozens of ingredients and learn, all these things from nature. So whether somebody lived in Africa or Australia or China or Americas, there's herbs there in their region that would resonate and would support that healing function. Um, and but also, it's important from my perspective, as I've learned, that as we understand how healing and health and disease works, it's not just random that we got a cold or a flu. That's actually the body cleaning house. If it's a stomach flu, it's not just the immune system saying, oh, there's a virus, get that out of here. It's a total immune response in the whole gut that's cleaning out that whole tissue. And even viruses, the conventional view is it's something, it's this creature that's attacking us. But wait a minute, it's not even a living thing. It's DNA or RNA, and that's part of our own cells as well. About 7% of our human DNA is viral DNA. So the alternate view is, no, these are exosomes, is the other word for it in biology. Exosomes attach to cells only, well, if we want to take that virus and recreate it, reproduce it in the lab, you can't put it in a healthy tissue culture. A virus can't find a healthy cell. It can't get to a healthy cell. There's an energy field there. There's structured living water that prevents it from getting to the cell. You have to put it in a petri dish full of what they call attenuated cells, so weakened cells, low energy. What do we feel before we get the cold or the flu? I was really tired and then I came down with a cold. Yeah, it's it's not a separate thing. Why does it not affect every cell in the body? It affects, if we have a herpes outbreak, it's just one area. Shingles will affect one meridian, one nerve channel, because the energy in that particular area is very low. So the alternate view is actually what the virus is doing by going to the low energy cell. It's allowing the DNA of that cell to cleanse itself by making copies of the toxic DNA. It's actually pulling out, for example, heavy metals. Heavy metals are attracted deep into the cell to the DNA. They accumulate over time and higher on the food chain. They accumulate. And how does the cell get that out? We have to have that exosome or virus. And my first
Yeah.
my first teacher told me, watch out when they come up with a vaccination for the common cold, which is called COVID. That's when you'll see a lot more cancer because the cells
Yeah.
need to cleanse. We should have a spring and fall cleansing. If the body's really well, full wellness, it cleanses and we don't have symptoms. It's just cleaning out. We don't have, oh, I got the flu or a cold. But if it's not sick, but not perfectly well, then if it's susceptible, now we
Yeah.
get a low fever and we get the flu, we get a cold, but that's actually the body cleansing itself. What if we don't have enough energy for the immune system to cleanse the tissue? We don't get colds and flu. Most people who I've met, worked with who said, I just got diagnosed with cancer. I can't believe it. I was the healthiest person I knew for 20 years. I never even got a fever or a cold or flu. That shows that the energy was too low. So we have to understand symptoms in a different way. That symptoms, as they describe in homeopathy, a symptom is an indication that the body is working to heal itself. It's an action of the body. So a
Yeah.
disease is just a symptom. It's not the problem. When we try to fight, when we try to kill the symptom and kill the disease, we're killing our body's healing attempts to heal. And so then we can manipulate the symptoms, and that's what we call it in modern medicine. Treating disease, we call managing the symptoms of disease.
Yeah. And
That's not the way well.
I've also learned this lately that as soon as somebody get a fever and they say, oh, no, let's get rid of the fever. But isn't that kind of like the body is raising the temperatures to cook the virus and kill it? So the fever just might be a good thing.
It is. It's increasing the metabolism of the immune system. It's turning up the fever is not caused by a virus or a bacteria. It's caused by the immune system. And
Ah,
that's
yeah.
run by our intelligence. So, yeah. What do we use fever for? Artificial fever, the sauna for whole body is very healthy, very healing. And artificial fever is used either locally on a tumor or for the whole body to help heal cancer. And again, the infrared, the heat, that infrared that body's producing or that we're putting on the body, in a sauna, that infrared is actually energizing the water, the living water in the body, giving our cells energy. And there's specific frequencies that actually activate the mitochondria that produce energy as well.
Mm.
So when you had a fever of 105 for all of that time, you just supported yourself, stayed
Yeah.
hydrated.
Stayed hydrated, kept monitoring the temperature, kept my forehead cool when it was up to 104 plus, so I wouldn't have damage to the fatty acids in the brain.
Right.
Mostly water. I would take a pre-digested protein powder. That has all the vitamins and minerals. So a total nutrition, total meal replacement nutrition that's designed for like people with food allergies to avoid allergenic foods for up to a month at a time, and then reintroduce them individually to see how they react. Well, that gives me all the nutrition that the cells need. And I just was pretty much flat on my back in bed for about a month. But again, coming out of it, I've had enough experience with my own healing crises prior to that to know I'm not going to suppress this. No,
Yeah.
it's 104. Great. Give me a cool washcloth and let's keep measuring,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing how the body can. Give you an example of a woman who she was a retired teacher, and here in Hawaii. She had glaucoma and cataracts, and she had a laser treatment for glaucoma, and both, it was only a treatment in one eye, but that triggered inflammation in both eyes. It's a disease called sympathetic ophthalmia. It's a disease, okay. Well, with that disease, you can't have surgery in the eyes or you could go blind from that. So she came to me to keep her vision from going blind from cataracts and glaucoma. And we did that by keeping her body in a state of coherence, keeping the energy in balance month to month, working on different things, retracing, time travel, healing older and older things in her life. And it was after several years, I got a call from her. She was just over the moon, said, I'm so happy. When I go to my dentist tomorrow, I don't have to take antibiotics. I said, oh,
Mm.
well, why is that? Well, because I went to my cardiologist and he said, I don't have a mitral valve prolapse anymore. And this is a Harvard trained cardiologist who'd been seeing her for 30 years and said, if I hadn't been your doctor for 30 years, I would have said without any question that you were misdiagnosed because that doesn't heal. We weren't trying to heal her heart valve. I had no clue that that could heal at that point in my
Mm.
career.
Yeah.
Uh, but we were trying to support her whole body and healing itself. That just tells you your body is always healing whatever it can and with the resources at hand. And if we can learn to, whether it's through the mind, whether it's through remedies, whether it's through healing therapies, support balance and harmony in the body, where everything is working together, that's where like cancer can heal in a few days.
Yeah. Got
Body
a
can heal very rapidly.
quick question on that one. When you do these kinds of treatment and healings, do they have to be in person or can you do it on the like this on the internet?
I learned 40 years ago to do it in person with electrodermal, electrophysiological measurements on the acupuncture points. And then I moved to the West Coast to study more natural medicine. I had clients back on the East Coast. And they say, "Oh, you're only coming every 3 months." And oh, my son has a high fever. Can you tell us what he needs and send us what he needs? It's not, it's just going on and not breaking. And and I learned from other doctors, other mentors, well, how can I find out what's going on with them at a distance? So there are systems of remote testing, which we use. And then now, just in the last few years, there's voice analysis, taking the frequencies in the voice and analyzing what that's telling us, because the information is everywhere. It's like it's in the consciousness, the subconscious, the energy of the body. It makes me think about how, how do we know what's going on in the body? Well, how do we tell even if the body's alive or dead? It's not a change in chemistry. The chemistry, your cholesterol level didn't change. It's still the same. And you're brought back to life, with electric pads and start your heart again. It still didn't change the chemistry. It's the energy that changed. The EEG of the brain and the EKG of the heart is how we determine if a person's alive or dead. But while their body's dead, their spirit is often up in the corner of the room looking down at that body over there saying, oh, that poor person must have had a heart attack. They don't even realize until they're back in the body thinking, that was my body. But our body isn't us, our spirit is us.
That's beautiful. That's so beautiful. Well, we only have a few more minutes left, and please, Glenn, tell people how they can reach you. I know let me say the best ways to reach you.
Well, I've got over 80 websites, so I'm out there reaching out, and lots of books you can find on Amazon or on remedymatch.com. One of the best ways, a new way that we've put together is called regeneratevision.com. And that's where you can get a free ebook that just, talking about some of these things, mostly focusing on vision, because that's my background. But you can't heal the eyes without healing the body. It's every meridian of the body goes to the eyes and the heart. It's all connected. But on there, you'll get access. You can get access to the voice analysis. It's a 10-second voice sample, and we actually once we get you that account, we give you free access for life. You can anytime you have a change in symptoms, you can do a quick 10-second analysis and see, oh, my spleen is stressed, or my spleen meridian, or my immune system, which that's part of. You can see all these different levels of analysis online, interactive. It's just a beautiful system that works so well remotely because your voice is there, and as long as you're connected to the internet. I've got a website, glenswartwout.com, a personal website, and I have links to all the other 80 plus websites there. And then, of course, there's the online store. If you're interested in looking at the formulations and saying, I wonder what herbs and nutrients are in something for cancer. Oh, did I say that? Oh, my goodness. But the keyword is in there, probably not on the sales page, in this world of legal fiction that we have. But that keyword will lead you to look at some resources that are useful for healing yourself. Unless you're under 18, you can heal yourself of cancer. If you're a child, if you're a minor, the states will remove you from your family, even if you and your parents all agree that you want to use this diet or this approach, this natural therapy. Even doctors can't treat cancer unless they're oncologists. I had a good friend who was trained the way I was in energy medicine, an
Yeah.
oncologist who had been a medical uh, uh, running a hospital in Africa as a missionary for 20 years. So he really cared about people. He came back to the States practicing oncology, and they kicked him out. They said, no, you can't keep your license. Why? Because you're not using the full doses of those cancer therapies. He was giving like low doses and getting better
Yeah.
results. He was
Mhm.
referring people to dentists to take the metals out of their mouth before he'd even start working with them. And you're working with natural medicine. It's not allowed, but you can heal yourself. Don't tell anyone if you're under 18 and you're healing cancer.
No.
It's best not to get diagnosed. What is a diagnosis? To know the difference. In cancer, they say, well, we have to do a biopsy to know the difference, to diagnose this type of cancer from that type of cancer. So we know what chemotherapy to use, which are
Mm,
all carcinogenic substances. Uh,
yes.
Yeah.
and cutting through a tumor spreads it 90% of the time.
Yep.
Mhm.
There was one study on breast cancer which really showed what's going on. They looked at cancer stem cells. That's what makes a cancer grow back real fast and kill you fast. With breast cancer treated conventionally, it increases the cancer stem cells 36 times. How many times have you heard of somebody treated conventionally for breast cancer? We think we got it all. Oh, it's back 6 months later. Oh, they're dead in a few months.
Yeah. Removing the symptom does not do anything for the cause.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Always a
It's such a
pleasure.
Yeah.
pleasure. Such a pleasure.
I have one question that I love to ask people, and I'm going to ask you. And I didn't tell you before that we were going to do this because I wanted to
Awesome.
be spontaneous, and that is, if you could talk to the whole world and the world is listening, what would you tell them?
open your eye, not just your physical eyes, material eyes, biological eyes. The eye, the spiritual eye is single. We can actually measure it in vision science. It's called the cyclopean eye, like a cyclops has one eye. It's somewhere between the two eyes and a little behind the eyeballs and off to one side, and that'll be the side that you're pointing your sighting eye, the dominant eye. When we do vision exercises to develop vision in children or people with head trauma or stroke to rehabilitate, it'll move toward the center as the two eyes start working together through the brain. But it's the spirit eye, everything you see, the light, the colors, the stars in the sky, that's you. Open your spiritual eye and realize everything you see is you, your true self. Your spirit self is so big, it's bigger than the universe. So
Yeah.
powerful, it has more power than 6 atom bombs, and not the limited destructive power, but the infinite power of love and healing.
Mm, I
Wow.
love that. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for
Yeah.
being with us. This was wonderful.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Thank you, everybody. I see you in the chat room. Thank you for joining us. Thank you if you are on the replay. We will be here next week. And don't forget, Aage has the paranormal show on Sunday night at 8 p.m. 8 p.m. or 7?
7.
7 p.m. Eastern. You can catch it, of course, here or over at the Conscious Awakening Network. Until next time, everybody, much love to you. Take good care.